Let's take a second right now to have a moment of silence for Washington Mystics owner Sheila Johnson, who suggested that the WNBA as a whole should have been on the cover of Time magazine instead of just Caitlin Clark.
Two statements, 2 months apart. One shocking revelation of hypocrisy. Washington Mystics owner Sheila Johnson publicly diminished Caitlin Clark's Time Athlete of the Year honor, insisting the entire WNBA deserved the recognition instead of just one player.
However, a lot of people are noticing the fact that we all remember Sheila Johnson, right? The Mystics owner that went on CNN that was none too pleased about Caitlin Clark having received the Time Magazine Athlete of the Year. She made absurd comments.
But actions speak louder than words. What Johnson just announced regarding Fever Games has the basketball world exploding with reactions. The same owner who claimed it's not just Caitlin Clark bringing attention to the league is now making business decisions that prove exactly the opposite. The staggering numbers behind her latest move tell the real story Johnson doesn't want you to hear. Stick around, because we have all the receipts, including a certain award where Johnson was eerily silent. Are you ready? Let's go.
Where Caitlin Clark was named Athlete of the Year. Why couldn't they have put the whole WNBA on that cover and said, the WNBA is the league of the year because of all the talent that we have?
Remember when a WNBA owner came out swinging against the most electrifying thing to happen to the league in years? That's exactly what went down when Washington Mystics owner Sheila Johnson decided to publicly criticize Caitlin Clark's Time Athlete of the Year honor during a CNN interview.
It has taken the WNBA almost 28 years to get to the point where we are now. And this year, something clicked with the WNBA, and it's because of the draft of the players that came in. It's just not Caitlin Clark, it's Reese. We have so much talent out there that has been unrecognized. And I don't think we can just pin it on one player.
Let's get into what Johnson actually said, because her words reveal something pretty telling. Johnson argued that instead of honoring Clark individually, Time should have recognized the entire WNBA. Think about that logic for a second. An individual achievement award, meant to celebrate one standout performer, should have somehow been divided up among more than 100 players?
Because when you just keep singling out one player, it creates hard feelings.
This statement raises an interesting question. Was Johnson genuinely concerned about team morale, or was something else driving these comments? But Johnson didn't stop there. She took things a step further by suggesting there was a racial component to Clark's recognition. I feel really bad because I've seen so many players of color that are equally as talented and they never got the recognition that they should have. With that statement, Johnson transformed what could have been a discussion about individual versus collective recognition into something far more divisive.
There has been, this phrase has been couched, hasn't it? The Caitlin Clark effect. Why do you think that has been the case?
Well, I want to be very diplomatic about this. It's just the structure of the way media plays out race. I'm going to be very honest. I feel really bad because I've seen so many players of color that are equally as talented, and they never got the recognition that they should have. And I think right now, it is time for that to happen.
What makes Johnson's criticism particularly puzzling is how it completely ignores the measurable impact Clark had on the league. The numbers tell a crystal clear story that's impossible to dispute. When the Fever played against the Mystics last year, Johnson's own team, the attendance averaged around 20,000 fans. Yet when other teams visited the Mystics, they struggled to fill even 5,000 seats. That's not just a slight bump, that's a seismic shift in fan engagement.
Caitlin has brought a ton of new opportunity, a ton of new eyeballs, and more money to the sport. So instead of downplaying the magnitude of who she is and what she's brought, enjoy the ride and take advantage of the ride.
Clark's influence extended far beyond just putting butts in seats. Her presence in the league sparked a threefold increase in attendance for Fever Games across the board. Jersey sales? Those jumped by an astonishing 1,000%. These aren't just impressive statistics. They're transformational figures that demonstrate how one player can elevate an entire league's profile and financial prospects.
While the NBA's ratings continue to drop over 30% as they try to figure out who is going to fill the shoes of LeBron James, Kevin Durant, and Steph Curry, the WNBA has a golden goose sitting in their league and has gotten better, but has done everything to kind of discredit the momentum and eyeballs she's brought to this game.
You know what's most revealing about this situation? How Clark herself responded to the criticism. Instead of firing back or getting drawn into unnecessary drama, she took the high road during her Time magazine interview. Clark emphasized mutual respect among players and dismissed any suggestions of jealousy within the league. No defensiveness, no counterattacks, just quiet confidence in her own journey.
So Caitlin is someone who has, if you look at it, done everything you're supposed to do and has been criticized along every step of the way. Again, she's damned if she does, and she's damned if she doesn't.
The contrast between Johnson's remarks and Clark's response speaks volumes. One sought to minimize an individual achievement and frame it as potentially harmful. The other showed grace under pressure and refused to be baited into division. So was Johnson's criticism really about protecting team unity and ensuring fair recognition? Or was it the first sign of something else? A pattern of behavior that would become increasingly difficult to ignore as time went on?
I mean, honestly, we know how this owner feels about Caitlin Clark. Let us not forget this.
That pattern of behavior? It became crystal clear when A'ja Wilson was awarded one of Time's Women of the Year honors recently. And suddenly, Johnson's passionate speech about recognizing the entire league disappeared faster than playoff tickets at Capital One Arena. Where was all that concern about hard feelings when it wasn't Caitlin Clark in the spotlight? Time magazine just announced A'ja Wilson as one of their Women of the Year, celebrating her remarkable contributions to women's basketball. This prestigious individual recognition placed Wilson in the exact same position Clark had been in just months earlier, a singular player being honored for her achievements. The perfect moment for Sheila Johnson to once again stand up for her supposed principles about team recognition over individual accolades.
Time magazine backed themselves into a confusing corner with their latest blunder. This is a Whiskey Riff right here. When they crowned their Athlete of the Year last year, they did the right thing by giving the title to Indiana Fever star Caitlin Clark. Surprisingly, there was some backlash to the decision, which is absurd, with many in the WNBA saying the award should have been given to the entire league instead of just Clark.
Except she didn't say a word. Not a single comment. No CNN interview this time. No passionate plea about how Time should have recognized all the women of the WNBA instead of just Wilson. The deafening silence from the Mystics owner spoke volumes about what was really motivating her previous criticism. Remember all those concerns about creating hard feelings among players when individuals receive special recognition? Apparently, those concerns have an expiration date, or perhaps they were never genuine in the first place. Wilson's honor represented the precise scenario Johnson claimed to be troubled by, yet her principles mysteriously vanished overnight.
The Mystics owner went on CNN and was like, I think it would have been nice if they'd have put the entire league on the front cover of Time magazine as Athlete of the Year. Well, there wasn't but one athlete that was moving all the numbers. All right, that was influencing all the money. Gate revenue, attendance, ratings, all the stuff we've talked about, right? There's only one. Right, wrong, or indifferent, just one. Plays in Indiana, wears 22, right?
This glaring inconsistency didn't go unnoticed within the league. WNBA player Lexi Brown publicly called out the double standard, posting, "Can we please stop taking steps backwards?" Her frustration reflected what many players were thinking. If the concern was truly about fairness and team unity, why did that concern only apply when Clark was in the spotlight? Unlike Johnson's earlier claims about players developing resentment, Wilson's achievement was widely celebrated throughout the league, with players supporting rather than resenting her individual recognition. The stark contrast reveals something troubling about Johnson's original criticism. This was the perfect opportunity to demonstrate consistency in her convictions, to again argue that individual honors diminish collective achievement. Instead, she chose silence, suggesting her initial outrage had little to do with protecting team unity and everything to do with who was receiving the recognition.
People, keep in mind, this is a business. When Nike signs an athlete, okay, they want to get an ROI, return on their investment. How do they do that? Because that athlete resonates. You understand that Caitlin Clark, her jerseys, her apparel, if she has an apparel deal, her shoes will sell.
Let's be real. If Johnson genuinely believed individual accolades created division in women's basketball, her response to both honors would have been identical. The fact that she spoke out only against Clark's recognition while remaining silent about Wilson's award reveals a troubling selectivity to her principles. You know what's most telling about this situation? It's not just the hypocrisy of Johnson's selective outrage. It's what that selectivity reveals about her true motivations. When two superstars receive nearly identical individual recognition just months apart, and a team owner only criticizes one of them, we're no longer talking about principles, we're talking about targeting. Why do you think Johnson is selectively targeting Clark? Let us know in the comments.
The Mystics were moving the two games that were coming to their town with Caitlin Clark and the Indiana Fever. They were moving them to Baltimore. All right, now, in case you're wondering, that Mystics home arena that they play on normally and brag about selling it out is only 4,200 fans. I mean, come on. 4,200 fans, right?
Johnson's principles about team over individual lasted exactly as long as it took to calculate potential ticket revenue. When she quietly announced a venue change exclusively for Fever games, moving from a 4,200-seat arena to one holding 14,000, the mask of principled leadership slipped to reveal something far more transparent: a business decision that contradicted everything she claimed to stand for.
Caitlin Clark comes to town. They move it to a 14,000-seat arena. I mean, that's nearly, what is that? That's nearly 10,000 more fans.
Johnson made a strategic announcement that spoke volumes about what she truly believed. The Washington Mystics would be relocating their home games against the Indiana Fever to CFG Bank Arena in Baltimore. This wasn't just any venue upgrade. It represented more than tripling their capacity, jumping from the entertainment and sports arena's modest 4,200 seats to a facility capable of holding nearly 14,000 fans. What makes this decision so revealing isn't just the change itself, it's the selective application. Johnson didn't announce a permanent move to a larger venue for all Mystics games. She didn't even select matchups against multiple top teams. No, this venue change targeted one specific team: the Indiana Fever. The same team featuring the player Johnson had publicly suggested wasn't solely responsible for the league's growing popularity.
Means the gate prices, all right? The gate prices for the game will actually go up. In other words, just like that preseason game, they has got tickets for $4,500. A run-of-the-mill game like this, we all know Caitlin Clark tickets are expensive.
The financial implications are impossible to ignore. With almost 10,000 additional tickets available per game, all likely to be sold at premium prices given the demand, the revenue potential becomes staggering. A conservative estimate would suggest millions in additional ticket revenue from just these games alone, all driven by the drawing power of the very player Johnson had attempted to downplay.
Raising the amount of money it will cost to get into this game, she may end up lining her own pockets with more money because the gate prices may go way up, and she's going to force Caitlin Clark fans to pay additional money to get into the game by putting in a bigger but not as big venue.
Basketball fans immediately recognized the contradiction. Social media erupted with callouts highlighting the disconnect between Johnson's words and her actions. One fan didn't mince words. Wasn't this the same owner that diminished CC's impact and downplayed her? Now she's milking the ticket sales? Another pointedly asked, should the Mystics move all of their games there? Their owner didn't seem to want to give Caitlin any credit for the women's basketball movement, but yet she's good with extra profits from fever games. The questions cut to the heart of the hypocrisy. As one fan succinctly put it, "Wait, why just the fever games? Why not every game? Or are you choking on your words about the face of the league?" These weren't just random internet critics. They were WNBA supporters who recognized the stark inconsistency between criticizing individual recognition while simultaneously cashing in on individual star power.
And this year, something clicked in the WNBA because of the draft and the players that came in. It's not just Caitlin Clark. Yes, it is. You telling me somebody spending $4,500 for an Angel Reese game? Get the bleep out of here. The mother bleep out of here. It's Angel Reese. She continued. We have so much talent out there that has been unrecognized, and I don't think we can pin it on just one player.
Johnson isn't alone in making venue adjustments for fever games. Other WNBA teams have done the same. But those teams didn't first go on national television to minimize Clark's individual impact on the league. They didn't suggest that recognizing one player creates hard feelings. They simply acknowledged reality. Caitlin Clark drives unprecedented interest in women's basketball. This venue change represents more than just a business decision. It's an inadvertent confession. When Johnson claimed the entire WNBA deserved recognition, not just Clark, her words carried a certain weight. But actions ultimately reveal true beliefs. And her decision to specifically capitalize on Clark's drawing power through selective venue changes exposes the hollow nature of her previous statements.
I don't agree with the Mystics owner saying that the whole WNBA should have been named up, because that's not true. The whole WNBA benefited this year from the viewership increase.
What does this say about the current state of WNBA leadership? Can league executives continue publicly downplaying individual stars while privately building business strategies entirely around them? The disconnect between public messaging and private decision-making creates a credibility problem that extends beyond just one owner. What basketball analysts have been saying all along is now proven by these events. Johnson's comments didn't just undermine Clark's individual achievements. They created an unnecessary division in a league that should be celebrating its rising stars. The hypocrisy is painfully obvious when we look at the complete picture.
There's some other players that get deals, men and women, okay, that have signature shoes that, despite how good they are as a player, great as they are as a player, they don't move product because it doesn't resonate. It doesn't translate. What translates is when Caitlin Clark came into the league and 30,000 jerseys were already ordered, that the Indiana Fever, the season tickets were already sold out. When you go on the road to the Mystics and they have to change the venue in which it's going to be played to play, where the Wizards play, okay, on a couple of occasions. It's only certain people that do that. Whether you like Caitlin or not, are you interested? If you're a ball player, it's certain aspects you got to love about Caitlin's game.
The future of the WNBA doesn't depend on diminishing individual excellence, but embracing it. As analysts have pointed out, stars like Clark elevate the entire league rather than detracting from it. What we're witnessing isn't just about one player getting recognition. It's about WNBA leadership needing to unify behind its talent, instead of creating artificial friction. The contradiction between public statements and private business decisions exposes the real issue. When a star drives growth, that's a collective win for women's basketball. Maybe that's what scares some executives the most, admitting they need their stars as much as their stars need the league. Do you agree? Let us know in the comments. Like, subscribe, and turn on all notifications so you never miss out. Click the video on the screen, and we will see you in the next one.